Hello, welcome to my channel once again. Today I'll be sharing with you the contributions of Pharaonic Egypt to the civilization of the world. Talking about Pharaonic Egypt, these people had their civilization somewhere 3000 BC to about 5000 BC. And these people contributed immensely to the civilization of the world. Egypt is located in North Africa. Now, how did they contribute to the civilization of the world? Let's begin by talking about the development of writing, the art of writing. Egyptians are said to have developed the art of writing. There weren't alphabets, so how were they writing? These people, according to history, were using pictures to express their thoughts. They were using pictures to express their way of thinking, which was termed as hieroglyphic form of writing. Some will call it a scared form of writing, and later it was converted to what we call the Heractic form of writing, which was a shorthand form of writing used by their priests. Not only that, they were also able to develop 24 alphabets, which has become the basis of writing. So if you pick your book and you are writing today, kudos to Egypt. If you pick your book to read about something you didn't know, thank Egypt, because Egypt were able to come out with something that has been beneficial to the world till today. And writing has been part of the civilization of the world. It's one of the contributions of Pharaonic Egypt. And then also, they were also able to develop pen, paper, and ink. Some will be wondering when I call it pen or paper. Yes, there was this plant that grows along the banks of River Nile. They were called Papyrus. Papyrus. Those plants were growing around the River Nile. So the leaves of these papyrus were joined together by using gum. They will join the leaves together, and then how do they get their ink? They will mix the juice. They will squeeze some juice out of the plant, leaves of the plant. They will have some juice from the plant. They will mix it with the gum and mix water in it. Or they will get the juice, mix it with gum, and they will get black substances from the kitchen. It could be the soot from the lantern, and they will mix it with it. Then what were they using in writing? They will get a stem. They will get a stem and they will cut it and sharpen one edge of the stem, and they will dip the stem into the substance, and they will use it to write on the papyrus. That was how the Egyptians developed paper and the ink and what have you. Today we have our pen, which has ink in it, that we use to write. And we have heard of those stories before. So Egypt actually again contributed in developing what we call a paper and pen today. So they actually contributed there, and this has been part of the civilization of the world. Without that, we wouldn't have history being written and kept down in books and what have you. So Egypt is appreciated for contributing that, and that has helped in the development and civilization of the world. Let's come back to science. Yes, Egypt actually contributed a lot with regards to science. Let me begin science with medical sciences. Yes. 2 books were discovered in their old libraries. Their old library. 2 books were discovered in their old library, which were translated by Edwin Smith. And according to his translation, Egypt had a knowledge of preserving the dead body by rubbing chemicals on it. So it was made known that Egypt had a knowledge on how to preserve a dead body by rubbing chemicals on it. And not only that, it was also known or revealed that Egypt had the knowledge of operations that could operate a person. And it was also made known that from the translation of the book, Egypt had the knowledge of how to use castor oil and how to use castor oil. This tells us that those things didn't just come from somewhere. The black people had the knowledge. The black people had done things before. They had contributed to medical science. Egypt is the hub of all medical science. They were able to discover that. So don't think when the black man was sick, they just threw them in a pit and bury them. There was knowledge as to how to cure them. And don't worry, very soon in my subsequent video, I will talk about medicine, how the black man was cured and how herbs were used to take good care of the black man when they were sick. Not only that, Egypt was able to develop what we call the Nilometer. And the Nilometer was used to measure the level of the Nile water. Measure the level of the Nile water. And then not only that, they were also able to invent the water clock, which they could use to tell time. Now that brings me to my next issue that has to do with calendar. Yes, Egypt developed what we call calendar today. At least, even if this is not what we are, at least what they developed is similar to what we have today. History tells us that the Pharaonic Egyptians were good astronomers. They look at the blue clear skies, look at the stars, and they could imagine how the solar system, they could imagine how the planetary bodies move. And they were able to divide a year to 360 days. And out of that, they divided into 12 months. Each month had 30 days. And then a day was divided into 24 hours. Thanks to Egypt. They have contributed to the civilization of the world. Today we have our nice watches. We have our beautiful calendars that tells us what's today's date. You simply tell today's date is blah 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 blah. Thanks to Egypt. And not only that, with regards to agriculture, because Egypt actually used agriculture to elevate themselves, because during those times food was the most important thing. And remember where Egypt was staying. Egypt stayed in a desert. The place was dry, but they needed to feed themselves to save some. Yes, so those of you who read the Bible, it talks about when Joseph was in prison and they had a dream and he could interpret the dream. There was food crisis. Actually, Egypt had food. And that's the Pharaonic Egypt we are talking about. And they invented what we call the soothe. The soothe was used for irrigation, mechanized farming. It was used for irrigation. Not only that, they also developed what we call the oxen, which was used for plowing. And they were also able to develop the hook and line, which they would use for fishing. Fayum became the breadbasket of Egypt. And they were also able to learn that whenever the Nile water floods its banks, the flooded water softens the soil and adds nutrients to the soil. So anytime it floods the bank, they farm along. So mostly some of them knew the times the river floods its banks, and they farm around that time, and they used to have bumper harvest. We can also talk about architecture, engineer. And when we talk about that, what comes to mind is the pyramid. If you haven't heard of the pyramid were beautiful stone buildings that served as barrier places for their kings. You know, the Egyptians regarded the pharaohs as an incarnation of their gods. So that was how the pyramids were. And the pyramids as it stands now is among the wonders of the world. Very beautiful designs. But the Egyptians had it. And they also had a beautiful, nice centralized system of governance. The pharaohs were seen as incarnation of the gods. They had the viziers and what have you. They were tax collected people, they were portfolios. And the hierarchy was the pharaoh. So certain things haven't been introduced to us by the white people. We had it in Africa before. There were a well-established central system of governance in Egypt, where specific roles were being given to people to play. It wasn't as if we were living in a jungle. So actually, Egypt contributed so much to the civilization of the world. So the African should be proud of himself. The only question I ask now, what then can we also do to develop the world as Africans? Remember, our great-grandfathers have done it before. We can do it. If only you accept who you are and accept your way of thinking as well. Let Africa remain Africa. Be proud of who you are. Let's develop and make this continent and the world a better place to live. Remember, you can never be someone unless who you are. No amount of water can wash off the pores of it you are. Thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel. Thank you once again.